The sound hits first. A sharp metallic crack slices through the air, not quite a firework, not quite a car backfiring, but something far worse. It's followed instantly by a scream, not a normal scream. A scream so raw, so deep, it seems to tear through the walls of the house and stab the world awake. My phone drops from my hand. I'm still holding the grocery bag in my other, frozen mid-step, on the front porch. I hear her again, my wife, screaming, wailing. Then silence. Not the kind of silence that brings calm, but the kind that drowns everything else. A silence that follows death. I don't remember opening the door. I don't remember letting the bag fall. I only remember the cold that grips my chest as I enter the living room. There's glass, shattered, glittering in the sunlight. The front window is gone, blown inward. My wife is on the floor, crawling, no, dragging herself toward the center of the room. Her white shirt is stained red. Not her blood. Our baby's. I don't see him. I only see the tiny blue blanket crumpled in her shaking hands. She turns her face toward me. Eyes wide, empty, mouth trembling, voice broken. He's not breathing. I stumble forward. Knees hit hardwood. Hands pressed to his chest. My baby, limp, eyes closed, blood smeared on his onesie. I press. I count. I breathe for him. I scream for him. I cry into him. My training kicks in, but it's useless against this. CPR means nothing when the body is too small to hold a bullet. She says something. Her voice is hoarse. She said we were violating code. I can't hear it all. I can't understand. I only hear fragments. She said, no toys on the lawn. She said she'd warned us. She pulled out a gun. The room spins. My fingers are slick. My hands are shaking. His chest doesn't rise. My ears start to ring. My mind fractures between soldier and father, protector and powerless. I trained to survive war zones, but nothing ever prepared me for this battlefield, my own home. The front door creaks. I whip around. No one, only the wind, the quiet street, the hum of a lawnmower somewhere far away, and then I see it, a small HOA notice pinned to the mailbox. Violation number 14. Toy left on front lawn. Immediate corrective action required. I don't move. I just stare at it, the edges curling in the summer heat. I want to rip it down, burn it, scream at it, but my arms feel like stone. My wife rocks back and forth now, cradling him, whispering lullabies through choke sobs. Her hair sticks to her face, soaked in sweat, in tears. And I realize she's gone too. Not dead, but something inside her has died. I've seen that look before, in combat zones, in mothers holding photos, in brothers standing beside body bags. I never thought I'd see it here, in the house we built with hope, with love, with dreams of backyard birthdays and baby giggles echoing down the hallway. A neighbor appears on the sidewalk, phone in hand, eyes wide. Another one behind her, stepping out from behind a bush. Voices mumble. A siren wails in the distance, growing closer. Too late. Far, far too late. And then it hits me. She's still out there. The one who did this. The one who pulled the trigger. The one who decided that an HOA code violation was reason enough to kill. I don't know her name. Not yet. But I remember her face. I saw her once at the town meeting, complaining about grass height, about Christmas lights being too bright. She looked ordinary. Like the kind of woman who writes in cursive on checks and drinks chamomile tea. But now I see it. Behind the pearls and the pressed linen blouse, a sickness, a delusion, a threat. My breath slows. My grief simmers. Something else rises. The part of me I buried deep when I came home from my last deployment. The part of me they trained to end conflicts, to eliminate threats. I look down at my baby one last time. Then I close his eyes. I hold my wife. I tell her I'm here. I tell her it will be okay. I lie. And I stand. The sirens arrive. The neighbors cry. But I don't hear any of it. I'm already somewhere else. Somewhere cold. Focused. Calculating. I know what I must do. She thinks this is over. She thinks a badge and a board of signatures will protect her. She doesn't know who I am. She doesn't know what I've done. She doesn't know that war lives in me. Quiet, patient, waiting for moments like this. She doesn't know. I was trained to end wars. Fade to black. Title card appears before the blood, before the sirens, before the silence. There was laughter. There was a backyard, not too big, not too fancy, just enough room for a swing set, a plastic pool, and a dog named Ranger who barked too loud at the mailman. There were Sunday morning pancakes, a messy kitchen, and the soft hum of lullabies drifting from the nursery. We had peace. My wife, Eliza, used to sing to him while folding laundry. Not the polished kind of singing, but the kind that filled a house with warmth. Off key, full of love. She'd laugh when I caught her mid-note, and I'd pull her close, burying my face into her hair, whispering, "You my song?" Our son, Liam, was just about to turn 1. He was teething, cranky in the morning, all smiles by evening. He'd learned to pull himself up using the coffee table, and every time he stood, he'd throw both arms up in the air like a champion. We called it his victory pose. It was a good life, a quiet life. After the military, all I wanted was this: stillness. No ambushes. No brothers bleeding beside me. Just grass that grew too fast, a baby who wouldn't sleep through the night, and a wife who made me believe that maybe, just maybe, I could heal. We moved into the Maplewood Ridge community a year ago. It was the kind of neighborhood you'd see in brochures: tree-lined sidewalks, pastel houses, bike racks outside every garage. The kind where they host BBQs in July, and everyone brings casserole to the potluck. At least, that's what they promised. Then came the letters. They looked harmless at first. Envelopes with the HOA logo. Reminder: trash bins must be stored out of sight. Please remove seasonal decorations by January 10th. Children's toys must not be left in front yards overnight. We chuckled at them. Must be someone with too much time on their hands. Eliza would say. She wasn't wrong. That someone turned out to be Karen Mathers. She was head of the HOA board, lived 3 houses down, and walked her small, yappy dog at the same time every morning. She wore oversized sunglasses and that smug expression people wear when they believe the world owes them silence, cleanliness, and absolute obedience. Our first interaction wasn't hostile, just cold. She stopped me one day as I was mowing the lawn. "You know you're an inch over the limit," she said. I blinked. Limit. Grass height. 6 inches is the maximum. Yours is at least 7. I thought she was joking. She wasn't. From there, it was one thing after another. The baby's toys left out on the porch. The dog barking after 9 p.m. A flag I hung on Memorial Day that she claimed was too large for regulation. But we ignored it. We weren't here to pick fights. We had more important things to focus on, like Liam's first steps, his first words, his first fever that kept us up for 3 nights straight. Eliza was a champion, a mother who could soothe the storm with her voice and stitch joy into every corner of our home. Still, the pressure outside grew. Quietly, constantly. One day, Eliza came in shaken. She threatened to fine us. She said, "For what this time?" She said the baby's sandbox is an unauthorized landscape feature. I laughed until I saw her hands shaking. It wasn't about rules anymore. It was control. Karen didn't just want things clean and quiet. She wanted submission. She wanted everyone to know who ran the street. Her HOA badge was her weapon, her rules were bullets, and we had somehow, unknowingly, become her chosen target. I started documenting everything. Screenshots, photos, voice memos, just in case. My military instincts kicked in. I didn't act, but I watched. The final straw came a week before the incident. A handwritten note taped to our front door. "You've been warned. If you won't protect this neighborhood from disorder, someone else will." I took it straight to the HOA office. They claimed it wasn't official. No one knew anything. Karen smiled at me from behind her desk, like I was imagining the whole thing. "Eliza," I told her that night, "we should move." But we were tired. Tired of starting over. Tired of running from every shadow in every neighborhood that couldn't handle a child's laughter or a barking dog. So we stayed. We kept the toys in the garage. We kept the blinds closed. But nothing could have prepared us for what was coming. I still see Liam's face when I close my eyes. The way he reached up toward the ceiling fan, fascinated by the spinning blades. The way he giggled when Ranger licked his toes. The way he looked at Eliza like she was the center of the universe. He never knew evil. He never had time to, and that makes me hate her more. She didn't just take a life. She shattered something sacred. She broke the peace I had bled to earn. And now, the soldier she didn't know still existed is awake. It started small, like most fires do. A plastic toy left out overnight. A warning note on the mailbox the next morning. But it grew. And fast. Karen's behavior transformed from passive-aggressive to calculated harassment. Not just through letters now, but with her presence. She began standing at the edge of our lawn during her daily dog walks, phone in hand, recording everything. The baby crying. Ranger barking. Even Eliza watering the garden. She watches me. Eliza whispered one night, curled against me in bed. She stands there like I don't see her. But I do. Every day now. I held her hand tighter. She wants us to snap, I said. We wouldn't, but she would. Soon after, we received back-to-back fines. For in 2 weeks. Unauthorized garden structure. It was a solar light. Noise violation, excessive barking. Ranger barked once when a raccoon jumped our fence. Exterior decoration without approval. An American flag on our porch. I tried reasoning with the HOA. I attended the monthly board meeting. I sat through an hour of discussions about hedge trimming and shared fence paint codes. Then it was my turn to speak. Karen sat at the center of the table, like a queen, her lips pursed, her fingers laced, listening, watching. I brought the photos, the videos, the logs of everything. I said, calmly, we're being harassed. My family is being targeted. This isn't about HOA codes. This is about control. The room was silent. Karen smiled, and then, in a voice as smooth as poison, she said, we all must follow the rules. If you feel incapable of complying, perhaps this community is not the right fit for your lifestyle. The word lifestyle hit harder than she intended. It wasn't just a dig. It was a line, a declaration. She didn't want peace. She wanted submission. And we refused. That night, Ranger disappeared. Eliza found his collar near the back gate, snapped open. No signs of blood. No prints. No bark. Just silence. We searched the woods behind the subdivision until 3 a.m. Nothing. I filed a police report, but there were no cameras, no witnesses, no proof, just suspicion. And one quiet neighbor who muttered as I passed him on the sidewalk, you should know better than to cross her. I didn't sleep that week. Eliza started locking the doors, obsessively, checking them 5, 6 times a night. Liam had trouble sleeping too. Every small noise made him flinch. His baby monitor picked up crackling static like interference. Once I thought I heard a woman's voice, a whisper, but it was too faint to make out. The final week before everything collapsed, that's when Karen escalated. A letter arrived in a plain white envelope. No logo, no return address. Inside was a single photo, Liam playing in the front yard, date stamped, time stamped, printed from a high-quality lens. There was no message, just the photo. Eliza broke down. I held her, but my fists were clenched the entire time. This wasn't just harassment anymore. This was a threat. I went straight to the police. They opened a case file, promised to monitor the situation. That was it. No patrols, no interviews, no warnings. Karen remained untouchable, but I knew she was watching. I felt her eyes. Every time I opened the blinds, every time I stepped outside, she was always there, behind a window, behind sunglasses, behind a smile. Always watching, always judging, waiting for something. I started sleeping with my pistol locked in the drawer beside me. Military issue. Safe, legal, unregistered with any HOA form. I hoped I'd never need it again, but my instincts told me I might. The worst part? No one else seemed to care. Neighbors who used a wave stopped making eye contact. A mother who once chatted with Eliza at the mailbox now pulled her stroller away in a hurry. People crossed streets to avoid us, not because we'd done anything, but because Karen had decided we were the enemy. The night before it happened, I had a dream. I was in a combat zone again, the desert heat, the gunfire, the chaos. But when I turned to my unit, it was gone. Just me, alone. And in front of me, Karen, holding Liam. I woke in a cold sweat. I walked down the hallway and stood in the nursery door. Liam was sleeping soundly, arms stretched above his head, mouth slightly open, chest rising and falling. I knelt beside him, brushing my hand gently across his forehead, and I whispered the same thing I said to him every night: "No one's ever gonna hurt you. I promise." I didn't know then that promise would be broken before the sun set again. It was supposed to be a quiet day. Eliza had planned to bake cookies with Liam. He just started imitating her, mixing imaginary batter in his toy bowl while she worked beside him. The kitchen smelled like vanilla and cinnamon, and sunlight poured through the blinds like a warm curtain. Ranger hadn't come back, but Eliza was trying to stay strong for Liam. For me, I had gone out just 15 minutes earlier to grab milk. I kissed her cheek. Liam waved his tiny hand from his high chair, mouth full of banana. She smiled. She remembers smiling. Then she heard the knock. It wasn't polite. It was hard, repetitive, angry. She wiped her hands, peeked out through the peephole. Karen, standing on the porch. Her dog wasn't with her. She wasn't holding a clipboard, no envelope, just standing there, rigid, lips pressed into a tight line. Eliza didn't want to open the door, but we had always tried to be civil, always tried not to give her more reason to escalate. She cracked the door just an inch. Yes, Karen didn't greet her. She said, "This is your last warning." Eliza's heart skipped. "What do you mean?" Karen lifted her phone. "I have you on video. That toy. Your son left it on the lawn again. That's a violation." Eliza tried to stay calm. "He's a baby. It's a rattle. I brought it in 5 minutes later." Karen's eyes were strange, distant, but burning. "You think you're special," Karen said flatly. "You think the rules don't apply to you." Eliza stepped back. "Please leave." Karen didn't move. "I warned you," she hissed. "I told you this neighborhood needs order, and I'm done waiting." Eliza saw her hand then, reaching into her coat pocket, something metallic. It caught the light. A gun. Eliza slammed the door. Too late. The first shot shattered the glass panel next to the frame. Liam screamed from the kitchen. Eliza dropped to the floor, heart pounding. Another shot cracked through the wood. She scrambled to her feet, sprinting to the kitchen. "Liam," she screamed. He was crying, still in his high chair, shaking, confused. She grabbed him, held him close. She didn't know what to do. Hide? Run? She had seconds to decide. She ran for the hallway. Another shot. This one tore through the back of her shoulder. She screamed, fell, her body twisted. Liam slipped from her arms. And then the world slowed. She watched, in frozen horror, as Liam rolled across the hardwood floor. He landed on his back, crying, moving, until the next shot rang out. And he didn't move again. Her scream wasn't human. It was pure, primal, the sound of a soul being torn in half. She crawled, blood from her shoulder smeared behind her. She reached him, his little body, his tiny chest, still, no breath, no sound, just blood, so much blood. Karen was still outside, reloading, mumbling. Eliza heard sirens now distant, neighbors screaming, someone yelling Karen's name. But inside, nothing, just her and her baby. She picked him up, rocked him, pressed her forehead to his. "Wake up, baby. Please wake up. Please." She didn't hear the door open behind her, didn't know I had come home, until I was on my knees beside her, breath gone, heart shattered. I saw everything. I held him. I tried to bring him back, but nothing worked. She didn't remember the police dragging Karen away, didn't remember the paramedics bandaging her shoulder, didn't even remember the questions, or the handcuffs, or the chaos outside. All she remembers is the warmth leaving his body, and the silence. Back outside, Karen stood calmly as officers surrounded her, the gun still warm in her hand. She said nothing, Not even when they asked why. Not even when they shoved her into the squad car. Her eyes never looked scared. Or sorry. Just satisfied. Like she had done something righteous. Back in the house, Eliza whispered the same sentence over and over while the world fell apart around her. She killed him because of a toy. They buried Liam on a cloudy Tuesday. The sky stayed gray, like the world knew what had happened. Like even heaven didn't have the nerve to shine that day. I stood there, suit soaked in drizzle, clutching Eliza's hand as we watched the tiny casket lower into the earth. Her face was pale, lifeless, like something inside her gone with him. Her body was there, but my wife wasn't. I don't remember what the priest said. I just remember the wind, and the silence, and the way her fingers trembled when the first shovel of dirt hit the lid. It should have ended there. She should have been locked away forever. But Karen walked free 2 weeks later. The judge claimed she was mentally unfit to stand trial. Temporary psychosis. No criminal intent. She was sent to a psychiatric facility, not even a prison, and would receive treatment and evaluation. They called it justice. I called it war. The neighborhood went quiet after that. Everyone pretended nothing had happened. The HOA stopped sending notices. The board stepped down for restructuring. Neighbors whispered behind curtains, but never spoke to us directly. The casseroles stopped coming. The mail was late. Deliveries arrived broken. We became shadows in our own home. Eliza didn't speak much. She stopped humming. She stopped baking. She stopped sleeping in our bedroom. Instead, she sat in Liam's room at night, rocking in the chair, holding one of his stuffed animals like it was him. I wanted to bring her back, but I couldn't. Not yet, because I had something else to do first. The military trained me to fight in deserts and jungles, in cities and caves. But what they really taught me was how to read people, how to wait, how to dismantle threats piece by piece before they even knew they were exposed. Karen wasn't crazy. She was calculating. That note on our door, that picture she took of Liam, that wasn't psychosis. That was escalation, planning, pattern. And the part that killed me, she knew what she was doing. She just never thought anyone would hold her accountable. So I became that accountability. First, I studied her life. The psychiatric facility? A luxury retreat with therapy horses and yoga classes. Not a padded room. A spa. Her family had money enough to buy silence. Enough to twist the system. She had a sister who visited on weekends. A lawyer. She lived 2 towns over. I followed her. Watched her routines. I learned how she got her groceries. When she left her car, unlocked. I wasn't planning to hurt anyone. Not physically. But war isn't just bullets. Sometimes, war is information. I broke into her car one evening. Slipped in and out in less than a minute. Took nothing but the binder she left on the back seat. HOA archives. Inside were years of private memos. Letters. Notes about neighbors. Dossiers. Almost she had files on everyone. Photocopies of warning slips. Photos. Complaints. Even threats. And at the top of one file was our name, Harrison and Eliza Rowe, handwritten across the front. Instigators, watch closely. Dangerous to order. I leaked every file to the press. I posted the scans online anonymously. The HOA board, those that hadn't resigned already, were swarmed with calls and emails. Lawsuits. Investigations. Karen's family tried to scrub it all, but the internet doesn't forget. She became a national story overnight. HOA president turned vigilante, system failure, or suburban terror? Still, it wasn't enough. I wanted her to feel it. So I visited her. Not in the open. Not during the day. I used a delivery uniform. A fake ID. Security barely glanced at me. She was in the garden. Alone. In a wheelchair. The scar on her arm was healing. Her face was clean. She looked calm. Peaceful, even. But when she looked up and saw me, something flickered. Recognition. Fear. I knelt beside her, smiling. She didn't speak. Neither did I. I just leaned in close and whispered, I've ended wars in 3 countries. Do you think I can't dismantle you? Her breath caught. Her knuckles turned white on the wheelchair arm. You took my son, but you didn't break me. You gave me purpose. Then I stood, left the clipboard on her lap. Inside it was a photo. Not of her. Not of Liam. A photo of her house. Her car. Her dog. With times. Notes. Patterns. Not a threat. A message. You're not untouchable anymore. I walked out of that facility knowing one thing for certain: the system would never truly punish her. But I would make sure she never slept peacefully again. Just like Eliza. Just like me. That night, I sat beside Eliza in Liam's room. She didn't look at me, just kept rocking, eyes distant. I placed something gently in her lap. She blinked. It was Liam's blanket, freshly washed. No stains, no holes. She held it to her face, cried for the first time in days. I'm not done yet, I told her. But I'm here, and I'm coming back to you. One piece at a time. She whispered, "Promise?" And I nodded. I promise. But inside, I knew the truth. There were still debts to collect. War doesn't always look like gunfire. Sometimes it's slow, silent, the kind that makes the enemy destroy themselves before you even touch them. That's what I planned for Karen. Not revenge through blood, but justice through precision. Piece by piece, weakness by weakness. She thought I'd be like the others, grieving and broken, then gone. But I was trained for the long game. She didn't know that I built profiles for war criminals, that I've dismantled rebel cells without pulling a single trigger. She didn't know that my job wasn't just to fight, it was to finish. I knew the system wouldn't prosecute her, so I made her infamous. I contacted a journalist I'd once protected in Syria, a man who owed me his life. I gave him everything: the HOA files, photos, audio clips, even the 911 call Eliza made through sobs and blood. We agreed on one condition: no names changed. 2 days later, headlines exploded across the country. Wife watches in horror as HOA leader shoots toddler over toy violation. This man trained to fight terrorists. One moved into his suburb. Karen's face was everywhere. People protested outside the facility. The HOA dissolved within weeks. Sponsors of the luxury clinic pulled out. She was transferred to a lower security psych ward. But I wasn't done. I started surveilling Karen's sister, Amanda. She was the legal backbone behind Karen's immunity. Every appeal, every motion, every PR cleanup led back to her desk. I learned her schedule. She jogged every morning at 6:30 a.m. She left her car unlocked. She had an online gambling habit that was bleeding her dry. Using an encrypted alias, I posed as a legal intern and offered her confidential evidence of Karen's premeditated mental state. Planted audio I'd created using deepfake tech and actual HOA meeting logs. The goal wasn't to expose her. It was to make her panic. And she did. She fired 2 paralegals. She shredded old files. She requested emergency immunity from the county board. That move triggered an internal audit. By the end of the month, Amanda was under state-level investigation for legal misconduct. The web around Karen began to collapse. Karen was back in a normal psych ward now. No more yoga gardens and herbal tea. But she still had her delusions. She believed I was watching her. And I was. I paid a nurse, one who had just been fired for stealing pills, to deliver a message. Not a threat, just a note with 2 words: still here. The next day, Karen refused to eat. She requested isolation. She cried for 6 hours straight. She scratched her own arm until it bled, and the staff began to question her condition. The doctors reevaluated. Suddenly, she wasn't insane. She was just dangerous. That reclassification reopened her case. On the 1-year anniversary of Liam's death, I published the final blow, a private video from my home security archive, never released publicly before. It showed Karen standing outside our window just 1 day before the shooting. She was holding a gun, mouthing something, then walking away. The footage went viral in under an hour. Suddenly, her psychotic break didn't look so sudden. Pressure mounted. Politicians weighed in. Karen's family disowned her. Her attorney withdrew from the case. She was rearrested, this time not under psychiatric protection, but as a criminal. I didn't attend the trial. I didn't need to. I had already sentenced her, not to death, but to irrelevance. By the end of it all, she was alone. No friends, no family, no lawyers. Just a woman in an orange jumpsuit, shackled to a courtroom bench, while the world watched her name burn. Eliza saw it on the news. She didn't say anything. She just looked at me and nodded. That nod meant everything. Not exactly. You don't heal from something like this. You learn to carry it, to fold the pain into purpose. But that was the day I finally took Liam's photo from the war board, the one I'd been using to guide my mission, and moved it back to the mantel, where he belonged, not as a reason for war, but as a reason to live. Some say I went too far. Some say revenge is toxic. But I didn't do this for vengeance. I did it for balance. For Eliza. For Liam. For every father who's ever felt powerless in a world that forgets too fast. Because Karen didn't just violate an HOA rule. She violated a family. She killed light. And I made sure the darkness never forgot it. The courtroom smelled like old paper and desperation. The kind of place where too many families had begged for justice and too few had received it. This time, I sat in the back row. No press, no cameras, just me, watching. Karen shuffled into the courtroom in a faded jumpsuit, wrists cuffed, ankles chained. Her hair, once perfectly curled, now hung limp and gray at the roots. Her shoulders stooped like she was carrying the weight of her own crimes, or maybe just the silence that followed them. She didn't look at me. She didn't look at anyone. The prosecution didn't need to do much. The evidence was airtight. The photo, the video, the timeline, the HOA documents. Every lie she told had a receipt now. Every excuse came undone like thread pulled from a rotting sweater. But what struck me the most was that Karen didn't fight it. She didn't speak, not even when the judge offered her a chance. No apology, no justification, no tears, just blank silence. Maybe she knew there was nothing she could say. Maybe, deep down, she knew what she took could never be repaid. The judge read the sentence slowly, deliberately, like the words themselves weighed heavy on the tongue. Guilty of second-degree murder. Guilty of unlawful discharge of a firearm. Guilty of endangerment with intent. 20 years to life. No parole for the first 20. Maximum state facility. I felt nothing. No relief. No elation. Just stillness. As they led her away, Karen finally looked back. Just once. Our eyes met. I didn't blink. I didn't flinch. I wanted her to see what she created. Not just the father she broke, but the force she awakened. And for the first time since it all began, Karen looked afraid. Not of prison. Not of judgment. But of me. That was all I needed. Outside the courthouse, the wind was warm. Summer was beginning again. I walked past the press without a word, past the crowds, past the whispers. Justice had been served. But my war was over long before the verdict. When I got home, Eliza was on the porch. She was holding 2 cups of coffee, both still hot. She had been waiting. She handed me mine without a word. We sat together in silence. Ranger barked from a backyard. We had found him, bruised but alive, in a nearby shelter 6 months after everything happened. Someone had dumped him there, no collar, no name. But he knew us. And when he saw Eliza, he leapt into her arms and didn't let go for 20 minutes straight. Now, he was part of our healing, just like Liam still was. We planted a tree for him, in the corner of the yard, a flowering dogwood. It bloomed in the spring with white petals and pink veins, like veins of memory stretching out from the roots we'd buried deep. Sometimes I'd sit under it at night, just listening. And I swear in the quiet I could hear my son's laughter. We never moved. People expected us to leave, to run from the trauma, to find new streets, new walls, new ghosts. But I refused. This was our home. Ours. Karen tried to poison it, to turn peace into fear. But we reclaimed it, not by pretending nothing happened, but by surviving it, by owning it, by making sure no one, ever again, forgot what she did. I still keep Liam's photo by the door, not out of grief, but as a reminder. that silence isn't always safety, that monsters wear pearl earrings and HOA badges, and that sometimes the only way to restore peace is to become war. I didn't want this path, but I walked it, and I walked it to the end. Because some promises are bigger than law, stronger than grief, louder than gunshots, and I made him a promise that day with blood on my hands and fire in my throat. No one will ever hurt you again. And now they won't. There's a difference between moving on and moving forward. People ask how we got over it. We didn't. You don't get over the murder of your child. You don't wake up one morning and feel whole again. You carry it. You grow around it. And slowly, the pain becomes part of the architecture inside you. Some days it still knocks the wind out of me when I see a toy aisle or a kid holding his dad's hand or a song that once played in Liam's nursery. But the difference now is that I don't collapse when it comes. I breathe through it. I stand in it. And I speak his name out loud with strength. Liam, we rebuilt the nursery. Not to forget, but to repurpose. It's now the quiet room where Eliza paints. There's a single white shelf with 3 things on it: a folded onesie, a framed footprint, and a photo of Liam smiling in my arms, drooling on my uniform sleeve. Eliza found her way back, not overnight, but inch by inch. Grief swallowed her, but it didn't drown her. She fought like I did, quietly, every day, and one morning she woke up and said, "Let's try again." We're expecting now. It's terrifying. It's beautiful. It's hope, fragile but real. Sometimes, I wonder if Liam sent this child to us, if his spirit is the wind that stirs the trees, or the warmth in Eliza's voice when she hums again. We don't talk about Karen much anymore. Not because we're afraid to, but because she doesn't deserve to live in our thoughts. She already took enough from us. She'll die behind cold walls, forgotten by the world. We made sure of that. But Liam? He'll never be forgotten. On the anniversary of the day he left us, we sit under his tree. Eliza brings fresh flowers. I bring silence. And we speak to him, not with words always, but with the kind of love that fills space without sound. We tell him about the new baby, about how Ranger finally stopped chewing shoes, about how we didn't fall apart, about how we survived, not because we were strong, but because we refused to let evil win. This story isn't just ours. It belongs to every parent who's been robbed, every family torn apart by madness wrapped in law, cruelty wrapped in policy. And to those still waiting for justice, you don't need to burn the world down, but you can make it remember. One truth at a time, one exposure at a time, one act of quiet, relentless courage at a time. I was trained to end wars, but Liam taught me how to begin peace. If this story moved you, don't forget to white heavy checkmark like it helps us bring more real, emotional stories to life. White heavy checkmark subscribe to the HOA stories, where silence breaks and justice speaks. White heavy checkmark comment below. Tell us how this story made you feel. Your voice matters. White heavy checkmark share with someone who believes in standing up against injustice. Dove at the HOA stories, we tell the untold. True stories, raw pain, real power. Until the next one, stay safe, stay awake.